Welcome to Celebrity Investing, your go-to source for insights, tips, and updates on navigating the exciting landscape of personal and global finance. Please like, share, and subscribe for more exclusive content. A quick look at why investing in 3G telecom infrastructure no longer makes sense and how the industry has already moved far ahead of it. Upgrading those same sites to 4G or 5G gives a longer runway and more room for revenue growth. Rising costs, old equipment, fewer parts, and higher maintenance. Old network gear has a hidden cost curve that bends upward over time. Vendors phase out older 3G product lines. Spare parts become rare. Support contracts grow more expensive or get limited to a small number of specialists. Firmware updates slow down or stop, which can create new security and reliability gaps. On top of that, experienced 3G engineers are leaving or retraining for newer technologies. That means repairs take longer, troubleshooting gets harder, and labor rates rise. What looked like cheap infrastructure at first can turn into a maintenance trap. For investors and operators, this eats into margins and leaves less money to spend on upgrades that customers actually value. Poor customer experience, slow data, dropped calls, and lost users. Customers do not care what generation their phone connects to. They care if the video plays, the call stays stable, and the app responds fast. On 3G, all of that is harder to deliver. Data speeds are limited, which leads to long loading times and constant buffering. Indoor coverage often suffers, since newer standards handle weak signals better. Some apps do not work well at all on slow or unstable connections. When users feel that a network is slow or patchy, they move. They switch to carriers that offer strong 4G and 5G service. That means higher churn, lower brand trust, and weaker long-term revenue for any operator tied to a 3G-heavy plan. A poor 3G experience does more than annoy customers. It pushes them away just when operators need loyalty to fund new builds. Regulation, security, and energy use, another hit to 3G profits. Regulators want radio spectrum used efficiently. Many telecom regulators and ministries push operators to retire old layers so they can pack more capacity into the same airwaves. Public timelines for 3G shutdowns are common in mature markets and are starting to appear in developing ones. Security is another growing issue. Old protocols and software stacks tend to have more known flaws and fewer updates. That raises the risk of fraud, data leaks, and service disruption. Energy use also matters. Per gigabyte of data, 3G gear usually consumes more power than 4G or 5G. That means higher power bills and a larger carbon footprint, at a time when many regulators and investors are focusing on climate targets. All these factors push 3G into the category of shrinking, not growing, opportunity. Smarter alternatives to 3G investment for telecom and tech investors. Upgrading 3G sites to 4G and 5G for better long-term value. For operators that already own 3G sites, the smart move is usually to reuse what still works and refresh what does not. Existing towers, power supplies, shelters, and backhaul lines often remain useful. Instead of installing new 3G radios, operators can mount 4G and 5G radios on the same masts. This approach saves time compared with greenfield builds and keeps site rental costs steady. The payoff is clear. 4G and 5G carry more data with less cost per bit. They support richer services, from high-quality video to enterprise solutions, which can bring in higher revenue per user. The technology life is also longer, so the investment has more years to earn a return. In short, upgrading old 3G sites to newer standards respects sunk costs without trapping more capital in a fading layer. focusing on rural coverage with modern low-band 4G and 5G. Some planners argue that 3G is good enough for rural areas or low-income users. On the surface, that can sound reasonable. Data use is lower, devices are cheaper, and expectations might be different. The problem is that this thinking freezes rural users in the past. Low-band 4G and simple 5G setups can cover wide areas from a small number of towers. They work well with entry-level smartphones and can support key services like mobile banking, telehealth, and e-learning. They also give people a path to more advanced apps as needs grow. Skipping straight from 2G to 4G or 5G can lift both social and business outcomes. Users get better tools, and operators get a network that will still make sense 5 or 10 years from now, instead of a temporary 3G patch. Exploring tower sharing, neutral host, and cloud core networks. High upfront costs are a real concern for any modern network. That is where new models help. Tower sharing lets several operators use the same physical mast, power, and basic infrastructure. Each runs its own radios, but they split site costs. This lowers capital needs compared with building separate 3G networks for each player. Neutral host networks serve a similar role in places like malls, airports, or stadiums. A single shared network provides coverage to users from multiple operators. This avoids the waste of several overlapping setups and improves indoor service. Cloud core networks move many core functions from heavy custom hardware into software that runs on standard servers, often in data centers. This reduces maintenance costs, speeds up upgrades, and keeps the network more agile for future changes. All of these models pair far better with 4G and 5G than with new 3G builds. They stretch capital further instead of locking it into aging technology. 3G is history, your money should be too. By now, 3G is a fading layer in most mobile networks. It is being shut down, its spectrum is being reused, and its equipment is getting harder and more expensive to maintain. At the same time, users expect fast data, stable video, and always-on apps that 3G struggles to support. Stronger options exist in 4G, 5G, and shared or cloud-based infrastructure. They offer longer life, better customer experience, and more room for future growth. Holding back on new 3G telecom infrastructure is a smart, future-focused choice, not a missed bargain. If you plan networks or manage capital, now is the time to review any 3G-related plans or portfolios. Shift attention and funding to technologies that will still be strong 5 to 10 years from now, instead of ones already headed for the exit. That wraps up the breakdown of why 3G is now a fading layer and where the bigger risks are. Stay tuned for part 2. Stay tuned and continue to watch our videos to gain valuable insights into the world of finance. Subscribe, like, and share to continue your journey to financial success.